Now, the woods around Storthes Hall have become an outdoor activity hub for walkers, dog walkers, footballers with the home of Shelley FC and their fantastic football pitches, as well as mountain bikers. I've heard there are some fantastic trails around here. But if you've been up here recently, especially in the last year or so, you'll have noticed something very different about these woods. You'll have noticed that while they were once extremely dense woods, there's now something missing, a lot of the trees. And it's quite clear that they've been cut down. Now, why is this? And it's a question that a lot of local people have been asking over the last year and a half. Now, this is due to the spread of a highly infectious fungal-like infection known as remorum disease, or its nickname, the plant destroyer. In fact, this is a fungal infection which actually caused the potato blight, which led to the Irish potato famine in the 1800s. So it is a very serious infection. Now, this infection actually attacks several species of trees that are common in the UK, including larch, beech trees, English oak, sweet chestnut, sycamore, horse chestnut, cherry, ash, and birch. Now, predominantly in this area in Boothroyd Wood near to Storthes Hall were larch trees, although there were also some sweet chestnut trees that were felled. Now, these were felled under a statutory plant health notice from the Forestry Commission, which overruled a tree preservation order that was in place from before. And the felling actually started to take place early in 2021, and the second phase of that felling happened in February of this year. Now, larch is actually a surprisingly common feature of the British woodland. In fact, 5% of the woodland now is made up of larch, and thousands of hectares of larch have had to be felled in the last few years due to remorum disease, which is spreading across the country. Now, I'm going to go and have a look around the woods, and I'm going to show you some of the effects of the felling in these woods. I hope you'll enjoy it, and you can come along with me and have a look. So here we are in Boothroyd Wood. I'll try and walk around without breaking my legs. But as you can see here, if you've been up here before, you'll know that this used to be very, very thick woodland, and now it's completely desolate in this part of Boothroyd Wood near Storthes Hall. However, this was completely necessary due to the spread of remorum disease, and actually this kind of felling actually removed the chance of other parts of the woodland having to be felled too. The remaining trees were not infected by the disease itself, and keep it looking something like a woodland. Despite the desolate appearance, it's really important to tackle remorum disease itself, because it can actually lead to infection of whole woodlands, as I've said, but also other crops, including fruit crops like wild fruits, but also other crops that may be farmed. As I said earlier, the Irish potato famine was largely caused by the potatoes being infected with a form of the remorum disease, so it can have very devastating consequences if it gets out of hand. It's a disease that's spread throughout the UK, but the idea from the Forestry Commission is to contain the spread. You can identify trees that may be suffering from a remorum disease due to kind of black residue coming out at the bottom of the trees, at the trunks, sometimes known as kind of bleeding from lesions in the tree. And sometimes there's dieback on the leaves, or the leaves are blackened as well. So those are some symptoms to look out for and to alert the Forestry Commission if you see them. None of the wood that's been felled will be sold for any purposes as diseased wood. But yeah, you can see that the felling has certainly created a very desolate landscape here in Boothroyd Wood, but it was all to contain a very serious infection. Now, Till Hill, the company charged with felling the trees on behalf of the Forestry Commission, have made a statement about the felling in Boothroyd Woods, and have said that the felling itself will create a more resilient and diverse woodland for the future. Now, this comment came after they outlined their strategy for replanting some trees, however not larch trees, which are actually not native to the UK, but planting more of a mixture of broadleaf trees, with the hope that that will help the woods survive through some effects of climate change, and also hopefully prevent further spread of other disease outbreaks which may happen in the future. Now, according to forestry research, which is the research branch of the Forestry Commission, the disease itself can be spread in several ways. One of those ways is through air currents, so on particularly breezy or blustery days like today. Also, raindrops can actually carry the disease a fairly large distance, in fact, as can animals, large mammals including deer or wild boar, through their footprints, and also human beings play a huge role in the spread of the disease, as well as other smaller animals that come with human beings, such as dogs. Now, the disease itself, Remorum disease, poses no threat at all to animals or human beings. That should be reiterated. However, there are some things that people can do to help prevent the spread and protect our lovely, vibrant woodland. Now, one of those things is very simple. If you're walking in woodland areas, before you leave the woods, the best thing you can do, if you're wearing whatever shoes you're wearing, particularly if you're wearing big wellies or walking boots, is to dust off any dry mud that's on them, and to give them a quick wipe round and wash them, to make sure that that you're not taking anything from the woods back home and potentially spreading it to other areas of countryside. Also, make sure you wipe off any dog's paws or anything like that as well, to make sure that they aren't spreading it as well. Another thing that can be done, particularly in this area where there are lots of mountain bikers, is for mountain bikers to actually try and clean their tyres before leaving the woods. So before they head back onto other trails, into other areas, or before they get back into their cars to go home, to actually clean off their wheels. That can easily be done with a small hose or some brushes if it's dry mud. So it's important to reiterate that there is no threat to human life through Remorum disease, but that we can protect our lovely woodlands by taking some very, very small, simple steps to prevent the spread of the disease. So, in the end, will the woods around Storthes Hall actually become a place of greater biodiversity following the felling and replanting that Till Hill plan to undertake?